He walked through my front door like he owned the place, confident, smiling, holding a bag of toys. My kids ran to him, screaming, laughing, calling him by name. And he had no idea what was about to happen. See, Marcus thought he was meeting his children for the first time, the twins he'd been sending money for, the kids he'd been planning a future with. But here's the thing. They weren't his. They were mine. Every single gene, every freckle, every laugh, mine. And I had the DNA tests to prove it. I stood in my kitchen with my phone recording everything, watching this man hug my children, watching my soon-to-be ex-wife smile like she'd won the lottery. She had no idea I knew. Neither did he. But in exactly 47 minutes, both of their worlds were going to detonate. I'm talking lawyers, police, family members, the whole neighborhood, all gathered in my living room for the performance of a lifetime. You want to know how a man destroys two liars with one reveal? Stay with me. Because what happened next made my lawyer literally stand up and applaud. Marcus brought cupcakes. That's what kills me when I think back to that day. This man walked into my house with Batman cupcakes for kids he believed were his flesh and blood. Kids he'd been video calling for 8 months. Kids my wife told him he fathered during their affair. He even brought a photo album. Pictures of himself as a kid, his parents, his siblings. He wanted to show the twins where they came from. I watched him sit on my couch, opening that album with tears in his eyes. My wife, Sarah, sat next to him, rubbing his back, playing the supportive co-parent. It was Oscar-worthy. The twins were 7 years old. They didn't understand what was happening. They just knew Mom's friend brought cupcakes and presents. I stood in the doorway, phone recording, heart pounding, waiting. You're probably wondering how it got to this point. How a man ends up watching his wife's affair partner bond with his own children while planning the most nuclear reveal in family court history. Let me take you back, because this didn't start with Marcus in my living room. It started 2 years earlier, with a text message I wasn't supposed to see, and a pregnancy that didn't add up. Sarah and I met in college. She was pre-med, I was engineering. We were the couple everyone envied. Married at 25, house by 28, twins at 30. Life was perfect. Or so I thought. The twins were 5 when I first noticed something off. Small things, weird things. Sarah started working late, a lot. She'd come home smelling like cologne that wasn't mine. She said it was her new manager. Big hugger, inappropriate but harmless. I believed her. Then her phone habits changed. Face down, always, locked with a passcode she'd never used before. She started showering the second she got home, even before saying hi to the kids. When I asked about it, she laughed, said the hospital was gross, said she felt dirty after 12-hour shifts. Made sense. Except she wasn't working 12-hour shifts. I found that out by accident. Called the hospital one night to bring her dinner. The receptionist said Sarah had left at 5. It was 9 p.m. She walked in at 9:30. I asked where she'd been. She didn't miss a beat, said she'd grabbed drinks with her friend Jessica from radiology, needed to decompress. I called Jessica the next day. She hadn't seen Sarah in 3 weeks. That's when I knew, but I didn't confront her. Not yet. I watched, I waited, I documented. And that's when Marcus entered the picture. She came home one night, different energy, glowing. She sat me down, held my hands, smiled, and told me she was pregnant. I was confused. We hadn't been intimate in 6 weeks. She'd been too tired, too stressed. I said that. She laughed it off, said it must have been that one time after the twins' birthday party. We'd had wine. I was fuzzy on details. She wasn't. She had the whole story, the timeline, the date. And I wanted to believe her. So I did. For 3 months, I believed I was going to be a father again. We told the kids, told our families, started planning. Then she miscarried. Or so she said. She came home from work crying, said she'd lost the baby, 12 weeks, devastated. I held her, comforted her, grieved with her. But something felt wrong. No hospital visit, no doctor's note, no follow-up appointments, just her word. I let it go. Then 2 months later, it happened again. Another positive test, another pregnancy announcement, another timeline that barely made sense. This time, I was suspicious. This time, I paid attention. The second pregnancy didn't feel real. She wouldn't let me come to appointments, said her doctor was overbooked, said she'd fill me in later. She did fill me in, with photos she'd clearly pulled from Google. Ultrasound images that didn't have our names, didn't have dates that matched her timeline. I reverse image searched one. It was from a mommy blog in 2019. That's when I hired a private investigator. Cost me $3,000 I didn't have, worth every penny. Within 2 weeks, he had everything. Photos of Sarah meeting a man at hotels, text messages recovered from cloud backups, credit card statements showing payments to motels I'd never heard of. The man's name was Marcus. They'd met at a medical conference. He was a pharmaceutical rep, married, 2 kids of his own. The affair had been going on for 14 months. And here's the kicker. Sarah had told Marcus she was pregnant with his baby, told him I was sterile, told her she was trapped in a loveless marriage and planning to leave me. All lies. Well, mostly lies. The pregnancy was fake, but her plan to leave me was very real. She wanted Marcus's money, his status, his big house in the suburbs. She was building an exit strategy, and she was using a fake pregnancy to lock him in. The investigator found messages where Sarah sent Marcus ultrasound photos, the same fake ones she'd shown me. She was playing us both, telling him the baby was his, telling me the baby was mine. 2 men, 1 fake pregnancy, maximum chaos. I sat in my car reading those messages, shaking, not from sadness, from rage, pure, focused rage. She'd made me grieve a child that never existed, made me hope, made me plan, all while screwing another man and plotting to take my kids. The investigator asked what I wanted to do. I told him to keep digging, because I wasn't just going to divorce her. I was going to destroy her. Standing in that kitchen, watching Marcus play with my kids, brought it all back. Every lie, every fake tear, every manipulated moment. Sarah had eventually faked another miscarriage with Marcus, told him she lost the baby, devastated him. But then she pivoted, told him the twins were actually his, said she'd done a secret paternity test years ago, said I didn't know, said she'd been living a lie. She convinced him that during a drunken night early in our marriage, before she knew she was pregnant with the twins, she'd slept with him at a conference. Completely fabricated. But Marcus believed it. She showed him photos of the twins, pointed out features she claimed came from his side of the family. The kids' nose, their eyes, total nonsense. But he bought it, and he started sending money. $500 a month for his kids he'd never met, but desperately wanted to know. Sarah pocketed every cent, told me it was overtime pay from the hospital. I knew better. By this point, I'd seen everything. Bank statements, messages, videos the PI captured of them together. I had a folder on my laptop titled Evidence. Over 400 files. Photos, screenshots, video clips, audio recordings. I'd been building a case for 8 months. My lawyer said it was the most thorough documentation she'd ever seen in a custody case. But documentation wasn't enough. I needed something bigger. I needed a moment so devastating that Sarah could never recover. A moment that would expose her to everyone. Family, friends, Marcus, his wife. Everyone. That's when I came up with the plan. The meeting. I told Sarah I knew about Marcus. Told her I'd hired a PI, told her I had proof of everything. She cried, begged, promised to end it. I told her I'd consider reconciliation on one condition. Marcus needed to meet the twins. She looked confused. I said if he really believed they were his kids, then he deserved to meet them, deserved to know the truth. She panicked, but I played it perfectly. Told her I'd talked to a therapist, told her radical honesty was the only way forward, told her if Marcus truly was the father, then we needed to co-parent like adults. She didn't want to, but I pushed, and eventually she agreed. She thought I was broken, thought I'd accepted her story, thought I was trying to save the marriage. She had no idea what was coming. Convincing Marcus to come over was easy. Sarah told him I'd agreed to let him meet the kids, told him I was being mature about everything. He jumped at the chance. Meanwhile, I was coordinating. I called my lawyer, told her to be on standby with papers, divorce papers, custody papers, everything. I called Marcus's wife. Yeah, that conversation was fun. Her name was Jennifer. She had no idea her husband was sending money to another woman's kids. No idea he'd been having an affair. I sent her the evidence. Every text, every photo, every receipt. She was ready to burn his life down. I told her to wait. Told her to come to my house on Saturday at 3 p.m. Told her she'd want to see this in person. I called Sarah's parents. Told them we were having a family meeting. Told them it was important. I called my parents. Same thing. I invited my brother, Sarah's sister, close friends, 14 people total, all scheduled to arrive at my house at 3 p.m. on Saturday, the same time Marcus was scheduled to meet the kids. Nobody knew what was coming except me. And Jennifer. Oh, and my lawyer. She was bringing papers and a notary. The week leading up to Saturday was surreal. Sarah was nervous, but excited. She thought this was a new chapter, thought Marcus would bond with the kids, and eventually we'd figure out some weird co-parenting arrangement. She even bought new outfits for the twins. Marcus texted her constantly, asking what the kids liked, what he should bring, what he should say. It was almost sad. Almost. But then I'd remember the fake pregnancies, the lies, the money she'd stolen, the future she was trying to steal. And the sympathy evaporated. Friday night, I barely slept. I ran through the plan 100 times. Marcus arrives at 2, spends time with the kids, gets comfortable. Everyone else arrives at 3 p.m. I make the announcement at 3:15. Show the DNA results at 3:20. Watch it all burn. Saturday morning, I was calm. Sarah was a wreck. Cleaning, cooking, fussing over every detail. She wanted this to go perfectly. And it would. Just not the way she imagined. Marcus arrived at 2 on the dot. Cupcakes, toys, photo album, the whole thing. The twins were thrilled. New friend, new presents. Best day ever. Sarah was glowing. I was recording. For 45 minutes, I watched them play. Watched Marcus tear up looking at my kids. Watched Sarah play the doting mother, introducing her children to their real father. It was disgusting. At 2:50, I got a text. My parents were outside. Then Sarah's parents. Then my brother. Sarah looked confused. I told her I'd invited everyone. Told her if we were going to do this co-parenting thing, we needed family support. She bought it. Marcus looked uncomfortable, but went along with it. By 3:10, my living room was packed. 14 people, plus me, Sarah, Marcus, the twins. Sarah's mom asked what this was about. I smiled, told everyone to take a seat, said I had an announcement. Sarah looked nervous. Marcus looked terrified. I started simple. Told everyone that Sarah had been having an affair with Marcus for over a year. Showed text messages on the TV, screenshots I'd loaded onto a USB drive. Sarah's face went white. Her dad stood up, started yelling. I told him to sit down, told him it got worse. I explained the fake pregnancies, showed the fake ultrasounds, explained how she'd manipulated both of us. Marcus looked confused. I turned to him, told him Sarah had convinced him the twins were his children, told him he'd been sending money for kids that had zero relation to him. He started shaking his head. I pulled out the DNA results, had them tested 3 months earlier. Clinical lab, official documentation. 99.97% probability. The twins were mine. Biologically, legally, undeniably mine. Marcus stared at the paper like it was written in a foreign language. Sarah started crying, saying I was lying, saying the tests were fake. I had backups, 3 separate labs, 3 separate tests, same results. My lawyer stood up, handed me a folder. Divorce papers, filed that morning. Custody papers requesting full physical custody based on evidence of parental alienation and fraud. I handed them to Sarah, told her she had 48 hours to vacate my house. Then Jennifer walked in. Oh yeah, Marcus's wife. I'd texted her to come in when the chaos started. She walked straight to Marcus, slapped him across the face in front of everyone. Told him she'd filed for divorce that morning too. Marcus tried to speak, tried to explain. She wasn't hearing it. She turned to Sarah, called her every name you can imagine. Security footage I'd recorded earlier played on the TV behind us. Sarah and Marcus had a hotel, timestamps, dates, everything. Sarah's sister started crying. Her dad looked like he'd aged 10 years. My mom hugged me. The twins were in another room with my brother. They didn't see any of this. Sarah tried to salvage it, tried to say I'd manipulated everything, tried to say she loved me. My lawyer shut her down, read the terms of the divorce, adultery clause, fraud, emotional abuse. I was getting everything. House, kids, savings. She was getting nothing. And Marcus? He sat on my couch, head in his hands, realizing he'd been played. Realizing he'd destroyed his marriage and his bank account for kids that weren't his. Jennifer told him to get out. He left without a word. Sarah tried to leave too. I told her to pack a bag. Told her she wasn't staying under my roof another night. Her parents offered to take her in. She left in tears. The house cleared out. It was just me, my lawyer, and the twins in the other room watching cartoons. My lawyer looked at me, said that was the most brutal thing she'd ever witnessed. I didn't feel bad, not even a little. That was 2 years ago. The divorce was finalized in 4 months, fastest my lawyer had ever seen. Sarah tried to fight for custody, tried to claim I'd set her up, tried to paint herself as the victim. Judge didn't buy it, granted me full custody. She got supervised visitation every other weekend. She hasn't shown up in 6 months. Marcus and Jennifer's divorce was even messier. She took him for everything. Last I heard, he's living in a 1-bedroom apartment, paying alimony, barely sees his own kids. Sarah moved 3 states away, works at a clinic, lives alone. She tried to reach out a few times, apologizing, asking for forgiveness. I blocked her. The twins are 9 now, thriving, happy. They barely remember Marcus, barely remember the chaos. They just know Dad's always been there. And that's enough. People ask if I regret how I handled it, if the public humiliation was too far. I don't. She humiliated me in private for over a year, made me question my sanity, made me grieve fake children. I just returned the favor in front of witnesses. Some nights, I think about that day. Marcus walking in with cupcakes, Sarah smiling like she'd won. The look on both their faces when the truth came out. I sleep pretty well. You want to know the wildest part? Sarah's sister reached out last year, told me Sarah's been telling people I fabricated everything, that the DNA tests were fake, that I'm the villain. Some people believe her. I don't care, because I have my kids, I have my peace, I have my truth. And they have nothing but the consequences of their choices. If someone's lying to you, document everything, trust your gut, and when the time comes to burn it all down, make sure you have matches and gasoline. Because the truth isn't just the best revenge, it's the only revenge worth having. If this story made you feel something, smash that like button. Drop a comment if you've ever caught someone in a lie this deep. And subscribe because trust me, we're just getting started. Some bridges aren't worth saving. Some bridges are worth burning so bright, everyone can see who started the fire.